Dalila. With doubtful feet and wavering resolution I came, still dreading thy displeasure, Samson, which to have merited without excuse, I cannot but acknowledge. Yet if tears may expiate, though the fact more evil drew in the perverse event than I foresaw, my penance hath not slackened, though my pardon no way assured, but conjugal affection prevailing over fear and timorous doubt hath led me on desirous to behold once more thy face, and know of thy estate. If aught in my ability may serve to lighten what thou sufferest, and appease thy mind with what amends is in my power, though late, yet in some part to recompense my rash but more unfortunate misdeed. Out, out, hyena! These are thy wonted arts, and arts of every woman false like thee, to break all faith, all vows, deceive, betray, then as repentant to submit, beseech, and reconcilement move with feigned remorse, confess, and promise wonders in her change, not truly penitent, but chief to try her husband, how far urged his patience bears, his virtue or weakness, which way to assail, then with more cautious and instructed skill again transgresses, and again submits, that wisest and best men full oft beguiled with good principle not to reject the penitent, but ever to forgive, are drawn to wear out miserable days, entangled with a poisonous bosom snake, if not quick destruction soon cut off, as I by thee to ages an example. Yet hear me, Samson, not that I endeavor to lessen or extenuate my offense, but that on the other side, if it be weighed, by itself with aggravations not surcharged, or else with just allowance counterpoised, I may, if possible, thy pardon find the easier towards me, or thy hatred less. First granting, as I do, it was a weakness in me, but incident to all our sex, curiosity, inquisitive, importune of secrets, then with like infirmity to publish them, both common female faults. Was it not weakness also to make known for importunity that is for naught, wherein consisted all thy strength and safety? To what I did thou showedst me first the way, but I to enemies revealed, and should not, nor shouldst thou have trusted that to woman's frailty. Ere I to thee, thou to thyself wast cruel. Let weakness then with weakness come to parle, so near related of the same kind. Thine forgive mine, that men may censure thine, the gentler, if severely thou exact not more strength from me than in thyself was found. And what if love, which thou interpretest hate, the jealousy of love, powerful of sway in human hearts, nor less in mine towards thee, caused what I did? I saw thee mutable of fancy, feared lest one day thou wouldst leave me, as her at Timnah. Sought by all means, therefore, how to endear and hold thee to me firmest. No better way I saw, than by importuning to learn thy secrets, get into my power the key of strength and safety. Thou wilt say, why then revealed? I was assured by those who tempted me that nothing was designed against thee but safe custody and hold. That made for me, I knew that liberty would draw thee forth to perilous enterprises, while I at home sat full of cares and fears, wailing thy absence in my widowed bed. Here I should still enjoy thee day and night, mine and love's prisoner, not the Philistines. Whole to myself, unhazarded abroad, fearless at home of partners in my love. These reasons in love's law have passed for good, though fond and reasonless to some perhaps, and love hath oft, well-meaning, wrought much woe. Yet always pity or pardon hath obtained. But be not unlike all others, not austere as thou art strong, inflexible as steel. If thou in strength all mortals dost exceed, in uncompassionate anger do not so. How cunningly this sorceress displays her own transgressions to upbraid me mine, that malice not repentance brought thee hither. By this appears I gave, thou sayest, the example. I led the way, bitter reproach, but true. I to myself was false, ere thou to me. Such pardon, therefore, as I give my folly, take to thy wicked deed, which when thou seest impartial, self-severe, inexorable, thou wilt renounce thy seeking, and much rather confess it feigned weakness is thy excuse, and I believe it, weakness to resist Philistine gold. If weakness may excuse, what murtherer, what traitor, parricide, incestuous, sacrilegious, but may plead it? All wickedness is weakness. That plea, therefore, with God or man will gain thee no remission. But love constrained thee, call it furious rage, to satisfy thy lust. Love seeks to have love. My love, how couldst thou hope, who tookst the way to raise me inexpiable hate, knowing as needs I must be by thee betrayed? In vain thou strivest to cover shame with shame, or by evasions thy crime uncoverest more. Since thou determinest weakness for no plea in man or woman, though to thy own condemning, hear what assaults I had, what snares besides, what sieges girt me round, ere I consented, which might have awed the best resolved of men, the constantest to have yielded without blame. It was not gold, as to my charge thou layest, that wrought with me. Thou knowest, the magistrates and princes of my country came in person, solicited, commanded, threatened, urged, adjured, by all the bonds of civil duty and of religion, pressed how just it was, how honorable, how glorious to entrap a common enemy, who had destroyed such numbers of our nation. And the priest was not behind, but ever at my ear, preaching how meritorious with the gods it would be to ensnare an irreligious dishonorer of Dagon. What had I to oppose against such powerful arguments? Only my love of thee held long debate, and combated in silence all these reasons with hard contest. At length that grounded maxim, so rife and celebrated in the mouths of wisest men, that to the public good private respects must yield, with grave authority, took full possession of me, and prevailed, virtue, as I thought, truth, duty, so enjoining. I thought where all thy circling wiles would end, in feigned religion, smooth hypocrisy. But had thy love still odiously pretended, been as it ought sincere, it would have taught thee far other reasonings, brought forth other deeds. I before all the daughters of my tribe and of my nation chose thee from among my enemies, loved thee as too well thou knewest, too well unbosomed all my secrets to thee, not out of levity but overpowered by thy request, who could deny thee nothing. Yet now am judged an enemy. Why then didst thou at first receive me for thy husband, then as since then thy country's foe professed? Being once a wife for me, thou wast to leave parents and country, nor was I their subject, nor under their protection but my own, thou mine, not theirs. If aught against my life thy country sought of thee, it sought unjustly against the law of nature, law of nations. No more thy country, but an impious crew of men conspiring to uphold their state by worse than hostile deeds, violating the ends for which our country is a name so dear. Not therefore to be obeyed, but zeal moved thee, to please thy gods, thou didst it. Gods unable to acquit themselves and prosecute their foes, but by ungodly deeds, the contradiction of their own deity. Gods cannot be, less therefore to be pleased, obeyed, or feared. These false pretexts and varnished colors failing, bear in thy guilt how foul thou must thou appear. In argument with men a woman ever goes by the worse, whatever be her cause. For want of words, no doubt, or lack of breath, witness when I was worried with thy peals. I was a fool, too rash and quite mistaken in what I thought would have succeeded best. Let me obtain forgiveness of thee, Samson. Afford me place to show what recompense towards thee I intend, for what I have misdone, misguided. Only what remains past cure, bear not too sensibly, nor still insist to afflict thyself in vain, though sight be lost. Life yet hath many solaces enjoyed, where other senses want not their delights. At home in leisure and domestic ease, exempt from many a care and chance to which eyesight exposes daily men abroad. I to the Lords will intercede, not doubting their favourable ear, that I may fetch thee from forth this loathsome prison house to abide with me, where my redoubled love and care with nursing diligence to me glad office, may ever tend about thee to old age, with all things grateful cheered, and so supplied, that what by me thou hast lost, thou least shalt miss. No, no, of my condition take no care, it fits not. Thou and I long since are twain. No think me so unwary or accursed to bring my feet again into the snare where once I have been caught. I know thy trains, though dearly to my cost, thy gins and toils, thy fair enchanted cup and warbling charms. No more on me have power, their force is nulled. So much of adder's wisdom I have learnt, to fence my ear against thy sorceries. If in my flower of youth and strength, when all men loved, honored, feared me, thou alone could hate me, thy husband, slight me, sell me, and forego me, how wouldst thou use me now, blind, and thereby deceivable in most things as a child, helpless, thence easily contemned and scorned, and last neglected? How wouldst thou insult when I must live uxorious to thy will, in perfect thraldom? How again betray me, bearing my words and doings to the lords to gloss upon, and censuring, frown or smile? This goal I count the house of liberty, to thine whose doors my feet shall never enter. Let me approach at least, and touch thy hand. Not for thy life, lest fierce remembrance wake my sudden rage to tear thee joint by joint. At distance I forgive thee, go with that. Bewail thy falsehood, and the pious works it hath brought forth to make thee memorable among illustrious women, faithful wives. Cherish thy hastened widowhood with the gold of matrimonial treason. So farewell. I see thou art implacable to me. I see thou art implacable, more deaf to prayers than winds and seas. Yet winds to seas are reconciled at length, and sea to shore. Thy anger, unappeasable, still rages, eternal tempest never to be calmed. Why do I humble thus myself, and suing for peace, reap nothing but repulse and hate? Bid go with evil omen, and the brand of infamy upon my name denounced. To mix with thy concernments I desist, henceforth, nor too much disapprove my own. Fame, if not double-faced, is double-mouthed, and with contrary blast proclaims most deeds on both his wings, one black, the other white, bears greatest names in his wild airy flight. My name, perhaps, among the circumcised, in Dan, in Judah, and the bordering tribes, to all posterity may stand defamed, with malediction mentioned, and the blot of falsehood most unconjugal traduced. But in my country, where I most desire, in Ekron, Gaza, Asdod, and in Gath, I shall be named among the famousest of women, sung at solemn festivals, living and dead recorded, who to save her country from a fierce destroyer chose above the faith of wedlock bands my tomb with odors visited and annual flowers. Not less renowned than in Mount Ephraim jail, who with inhospitable guile smote Sisera, sleeping through the temples nailed. Nor shall I count it heinous to enjoy the public marks of honor and reward conferred upon me, for the piety which to my country I was judged to have shown. At this, whoever envies or repines, I leave him to his lot, and like my own. She's gone, a manifest serpent by her sting, discovered in the end, till now concealed. So let her go. God sent her to debase me, and aggravate my folly, who committed to such a viper his most sacred trust of secrecy, my safety and my life. Yet beauty, though injurious, hath strange power, after offense returning to regain love once possessed, nor can be easily repulsed, without much inward passion felt, and secret sting of amorous remorse. Love quarrels oft in pleasing concord end, not wedlock treachery endangering life. It is not virtue, wisdom, valor, wit, strength, comeliness of shape, or amplest merit that woman's love can win or long inherit, but what it is, hard is to say, harder to hit, what way soe'er men refer it, much like thy riddle, Samson, in one day or 7, though one should musing sit. If any of these or all the Timnian bride had not so soon preferred, thy paranymph, worthless to thee compared, successor in thy bed, nor both so loosely disallayed, their nuptials, nor this last so treacherously, had shorn the fatal harvest of thy head, is it for that such outward ornament was lavished on their sex, that inward gifts were left for haste unfinished, judgment scant, capacity not raised to apprehend or value what is best in choice, but oftest to affect the wrong? Or was too much of self-love mixed, or constancy no root infixed, that either they love nothing or not long? Whate'er it be, to wisest men and best, seeming at first all heavenly under virgin veil, soft, modest, meek, demure, once joined, the contrary she proves, a thorn intestine, far within defensive arms, a cleaving mischief in his way to virtue, adverse and turbulent, or by her charms draws him awry enslaved, with dotage and his sense depraved, to folly and shameful deeds, which ruin ends. What pilot so expert but needs must wreck, embarked with such a steersmate at the helm? Favored of heaven, who finds one virtuous rarely found, that in domestic good combines, happy that house, his way to peace is smooth. But virtue which breaks through all opposition, and all temptation can remove, most shines, and most is acceptable above. Therefore God's universal law gave to the man despotic power over his female in due awe, nor from that right depart an hour, smile she or lower. So shall he least confusion draw on his whole life, not swayed by female usurpation nor dismayed. But had we best retire, I see a storm. Fair days have oft contracted wind and rain, but this another kind of tempest brings. Be less obtruse, my riddling days are past. Look now, for no enchanting voice nor fear the bait of honeyed words, a rougher tongue, draws hitherward. I know him by his stride, the giant Harapha of Gath, his look haughty as is his pile high built and proud. Comes he in peace? What wind hath blown him hither? I less conjecture than when first I saw the sumptuous Dalila floating this way. His habit carries peace, his brow defiance.